Hi, this is Mike from Kosmic Sound. Today we're going to be looking at Pioneer's new flagship DJ controller, the DDJ-SZ. This is designed to be the big brother to the previous flagship, the DDJ-SX, and it is one step closer in bridging the gap between DJ controllers and current club standard equipment. So we won't be running through every feature of the DDJ-SZ today, and that's because we've covered a lot of what this already does. And it's very similar to what the Pioneer DDJ-SX does. So if you haven't seen our video on that, check it out on our channel. But what we will be running through is the new Serato DJ 1.6.3 and what Pioneer have done to convince you that this is the best DJ controller money can buy. So the first thing that you're going to notice is the physical size. It's obviously much larger than any other controller out there on the market. In fact, the CDJ jog wheel, the Pioneer jog wheel, is as big as what you will find on an industry standard CDJ, so 850, 900, 2000 spec. It feels a little bit different though, so it's a contactless jog wheel, which means it has no major moving parts inside, and the result of that is that it's very, very smooth, which is much different to a CDJ, which actually uses ball bearings inside. Ball bearings feel a little bit more grainy. Which one is better? It's entirely up to you. It's more a matter of personal preference than anything there. Starting from the top, in the top left, we have a dedicated panel, sensor and slip mode. Slip mode is exactly the same as what you'll find on the DDJ-SX. The panel mode allows us to cycle through different views in Serato DJ now. So we can switch through from our sample launch page, just browsing tracks. We can look at our mix recorder, or we can look at effects as well. So it's easy to get around or navigating through the new software that way. To the right of that, we'll find our familiar effects controls. So this is exactly the same as what you find in the DDJ-SX. So you've got the familiar on and off switches for each effect, and then a rotary control, how wet or dry the effect is. On the far right, you've got the beats control, which allows you to control the interval or the desired control over the individual effect that you're controlling. So below that we have the familiar needle search, which allows you to browse through the track with your fingertips. Yeah, really useful for fast drops in the middle of tracks if you need to get to somewhere quickly or a breakdown quickly or whatever. To the right of that we have the familiar, in fact it's the same componentry used on the CDJ 2000s and 900s. We have a rotary selector for choosing tracks. So it means if we want to load a track into deck 1 or 3, all we have to do is find the track we want and press the button. This is really useful for instant doubles as well. So if we're wanting to grab the track from the other deck, we can press it twice and it will automatically lock the same track at the exact same position together at that time. Just below that, we have something that is normally only reserved again for the high-end CDJ systems, so the 2000s specifically, which is the jog feeling adjust. We can choose it to be anywhere between light and heavy. Heavy meaning a really strong, heavy jog, which won't allow you to push it too far. If you switch it all the way to light, you'll be able to do big back and that kind of thing. To the right of that, we have a stop time rotary control, which is blendable from fast all the way through to slow. Basically, all that means when we're in vinyl mode, we can create long power down break effects, just like you'd find on, like a Technics or a turntable kind of thing. So below that we have the key lock and tempo range button. So this doubles up as a couple of different things. The first one, if we just press it, we get a key locking system. When enabled, it means that we can make changes to the tempo of the track, so speed it up or slow it down. It's going to lock the key of the track, so it won't alter the pitch of the track. When we hold the shift button and push access the secondary function, which is tempo range, we can change the range at which we can increase or decrease our tempo. So we can look at +8, +16, +50. So below the panel button we have the familiar slip mode button. This is pretty much standard across all CDJs and DJ controllers now. What it allows us to do when enabled is access things like transport on the track, so effects, jogging, scratching, making changes to the flow of the track without actually interrupting the playback. So what it does is it'll actually run underneath and then resume playback of the track as if you'd never activated those effects at all. If we hold the shift button, we can also change the jog mode of the deck. So we can go from vinyl to CDJ mode. Vinyl mode means that the top platter becomes pressure sensitive, means we can do things like scratch. When we're in CDJ mode, it basically just deactivates that, which is great for people who don't do any scratching and they really only use the jog wheel as a pitch bend function. It allows us to slow down or speed things up for aligning your two beats. So one of the biggest changes to the DDJ-SZ is in the pad mode and the ways in which we can access what the pads do with the software. The first thing to note cosmetically is that they are now RGB pads, which means we can assign different colors to the pads based on what we want. So we can, make our hot cue downbeat a kick. We can make that color orange or red or whatever we prefer or know these particular markers to be. The general modes that the pads have are on their first or primary function are exactly the same as the SX. So we have hot cue, roll, slicer and sampler. They work exactly the same. We still don't have a way of loading samples or capturing samples on the fly. Unfortunately, that's still got to be done with a mouse and keyboard. But what we do have is a secondary function under each pad mode. And we can access that by holding the shift button and then pressing the section that we want to access that second function from. So in the case of the hot cue, it becomes cue loop. Now what this means is when we jump to one of our preset hot cues, it's going to enter a loop. What this could be useful for is if we haven't pre-programmed or preemptively programmed what we call a hot loop. So if we've got hot cues set and we just want to have an 8-bar loop running of an a cappella from that cue point, we can automatically jump to that point and it'll automatically start in the 8-bar loop. Moving across to what would normally be the roll function, which normally served as a way to create a cool slip roll effect. That functionality is all still there, but now we also have the ability to enter what's called a saved loop. And saved loops allows us to create 8 pre-saved loop points that we can recall upon at any point. So I can create those on the fly just by entering an in and out point and then choosing a pad. So once we've saved that loop, we can then recall it via the pad. What Pioneer have done to protect us here is they've made it so that you can't actually access those just simply by slipping and pressing them. You actually have to hold the shift button first and then press the pad and it will jump us back to that loop point. So the next function would normally be our slicer section. Again, that functionality is all still there. We can create 8 individual slices with every 8 bars that the software comes up against. It turns into 8 playable phrases. When we hold the shift button, we now enter slicer loop mode. Pretty self-explanatory. We can create loops over each individual playable phrase. So it's really good if we want to rearrange the flow of the track, if we've got something like an a cappella or we want to play the downbeat on the snare or something, or rearrange things the way things normally play out. We can do that and do it now with loops functionality as well. Next along is the sampler. As I said before, unfortunately there's still no way for us to grab samples on the fly and load them directly into pads as we can do on Tractor. However, what we do have with the shift mode now is a velocity sensitivity control. So if we hold the shift button and enter velocity sampler, it means that the samples that are preloaded into these pads, we can trigger with velocity sensitivity. Before we move on, another cool feature of Serato 1.6.3 is that we can go in and change and customize what colors each pad is on the RGB pads. And the way to do that is simply by control or command clicking on the relevant pad and choosing the color that you want for that particular pad, and it's done. Looping section to the right of that has thankfully remained relatively unchanged. So if you want full details on that, check out our DDJ-SX video. Now moving into the mixer section, it's pretty obvious that this has changed quite a bit. As soon as you look at it, you notice that there's a hell of a lot more on it. Really, it's still going to give you similar input and output control to the DDJ-SX, but what it will give you is a hell of a lot more effects. So we have sound color effects controls now underpinning every channel, including the mic channel. We also have a brand new thing called oscillator effects, which are like a new concept from Pioneer. I think they're trying it out with this controller. Basically what it is a noise generator. Gives us 4 noise generated samples, which we have individual parameter controls for directly underneath. And those 4 samples are noise, cymbal, siren, and my old favourite, the horn. We can also control exactly where the oscillator effects are routed, so we can send them through channel 3 or 4 or just blanket over the master. And that's particularly useful if you're wanting to specifically control individual colour effects or channel effects in conjunction with the oscillator effects. As far as the sound colour effects go, they're always a little bit different mixer to mixer with Pioneer. On the DDJ-SZ, we still have 4, so the same as what you'd find on a DJM 850. But these 4 effects are the Echo, Jet, Pitch and Filter. This is the Echo. By switching to the right, we'll just basically vary the interval on the delay. Very similar to what they're doing with the new RMX controllers, the RMX 1000, RMX 500. We also have Jet, very popular, very common feature amongst a lot of effects units. Pitch control, which you'll find on roughly 50% of Pioneer products. Sort of like a really, really harsh pitching algorithm, up or down. And the most common one, your high pass and low pass filter. As I said with the sound colour effects, there are actually more on this mixer section than any other product Pioneer has ever brought out. So it includes the mic channel, each individual track channel, and we've also got one for our oscillator effects as well. Above the sound colour effects, we have the sample of volume, which is now in a dedicated knob. So that used to be located in the middle of the DDJ-SX as a separate fader. It's now a rotary. We also have mic control, so mic 1, mic 2, and a high and a low EQ for those. So we have the ability to connect 2 microphones at once. And the mic ports on this, you'll be happy to know, are much, much, much better than what were on the DDJ-SX. So there was a lot of complaints about that one, so they fixed that right up here. Another really major improvement that they've made to this controller over the SX is the ability to connect 2 independent computers at once. So this was first done with Rain's SL4 box for DJ changeovers. What they've done is they've stuck 2 USB ports on the back of this unit as well, and you can see it really clearly at the top here, whether you have 1 or 2 computers connected. What it really allows you to do is have complete flexibility over 2 DJs playing back to back with 2 completely different music libraries. And so when you have both laptops connected, one person can have control of one deck or vice versa, or you can both control both decks. It's entirely up to you. So lifting it up now and looking to the back, we have Kensington lock all the way on the right here, so we can protect our equipment if we need it locked down. We have master outputs in the XLR standard, master out in the RCA standard. We have TRS booth outputs. We have signal grounds for turntables. We have RCA phono and line inputs across all 4 channels. Another grounding post, our 2 mic inputs, 2 USB inputs, on and off switch, and our normal IEC AC receptacle. Another really cool feature with this is that you can use this mixer section with all 4 inputs as a standard analog mixer. That means you can connect it to the wall, to the power, and you can use all 4 inputs to connect external analog devices. Really good for people who already own pre-existing CDJs and they want to sort of mix between software and hardware. but also really good from a stability standpoint as well. So if you're in a show and you need a backup, even on an iPod or a simple CD player, this is going to do the job. So with this controller, Pioneer haven't exactly reinvented or changed the game too much. What they've really done is taken the best of pre-existing technology and put it all together in one ultimate Big Daddy controller that has every feature. It really does represent exactly how far we've come with controllerism, and I really wouldn't be surprised if I saw this started seeing these in nightclubs everywhere. The 2 USB port changeover is really going to make it easy for Serato users to get behind the decks in nightclubs around the world. For me, coming from a CDJ background, I may be biased in saying this, but it was an absolute breeze to use. The moment I connected it and plugged it in, it all made perfect sense. The new contactless jog wheels in this size felt awesome. In fact, I may be even swayed to enjoying that more than the original jog wheels. But all in all, feels fantastic. Build quality is exceptional, and it's a really, really good quality controller which covers every single base you could possibly ask for. So if you'd like to try one of these out, or for more information on how to purchase, please come down to our store or jump online to our website, www.kosmic.com.au.